An Israeli blockade on food, aid and medicine has been fueling a man-made starvation crisis in Gaza for months now. Now, a notorious Israeli and US-backed group seems to be using aid to move hundreds of thousands of people to the south, where Israel plans to forcibly transfer Palestinians into a concentration zone. Distribution points run by the Gaza Humanitarian Foundation have become what the UN has called a death trap for Palestinians. More than 770 people have been killed since it opened its doors in May. Then on Wednesday, the GHF announced that it's now going to operate only one distribution centre. That's one aid delivery site for more than 2 million starving Palestinians. A site in central Gaza near the Netzarim Corridor has already been closed. On Wednesday, the GHF closed its aid distribution point in Khan Younis, leaving only one Rafah site operational for aid deliveries. The group says it's been shut for maintenance and renovations. There's no timeline on when that will reopen. Well, the head of the UN Agency for Palestinian Refugees has issued a stark warning about the Israeli plans for the mass displacement of Palestinians in Gaza towards Rafah. In a statement, Philippe Lazzarini says this would de facto create massive concentration camps at the border with Egypt for the Palestinians, displaced over and over across generations. This would also deprive Palestinians of any prospects for a better future in their homeland. And we cannot be silent and complicit of such large-scale forced displacement. Well, as the food crisis worsens even further, Israeli forces have also been intensifying their attacks across Gaza. Nearly 90 Palestinians have died since Wednesday. Children were again among those killed after Israeli forces attacked tents sheltering displaced Palestinians. It again happened in Al-Mawasi in southern Gaza, a so-called safe zone where Israel has been telling Palestinians to seek refuge while repeatedly attacking it. Well, let's speak to Tareq Azzoum. He joins us from outside central Gaza's largest health facility, the Al-Aqsa Hospital there in Deir el-Balah. Tareq, one GHF site open in Gaza, obviously not anywhere near enough for 2 million people. What's happening?
Yeah, that's definitely right. Understandably, the GHF has announced that it will only right now allow for one of its fundamental operational aid centres to remain functioning, as they are shutting down a number of the major distribution centres in southern and in central Gaza. Each designated aid hub has been responsible of serving 300,000 Palestinians, as they have been stated a clear objective that the GHF is working to mitigate that crisis. But let's evaluate the outcomes and the repercussions of the work of the GHF on the ground. We can see that one aid hub that right now is operational cannot be extremely enough to meet the demands of over 1.7 million Palestinians, the vast majority of them living in the northern part of Gaza, which means that they will be forced to travel to the southern part of the territory in order to get food supplies, and in multiple cases they might return empty-handed after making a very long and dangerous journey all the way to Rafah. And on the ground, people started to rely on any kind of food supplies provided by charitable organizations in Gaza. And by the way, they have been killed earlier this morning while they were waiting for food supplement to be distributed by one of the charitable medical organizations in Gaza, especially in Deir el-Balah, very close to where we are at the moment. This has been a very severe outcome from the work of the GHF on the ground. It has received huge criticism by the international community about the mechanism of distributing aid that has been described to be very chaotic and cannot ensure that everyone on the ground will get enough aid. And there have been multiple calls made from locals on the ground to witness some sort of resumption for the old distribution mechanism usually operated by the UN agencies, including UNRWA, the WFP, the WHO, and multiple active organizations which have verified data and a huge network of connection and distribution centers on the ground that can deliver aid safely in a very transparent manner and ensure that everyone on the ground will get aid supplies amid this continuation of airstrikes that we continue to hear till now.
Well, we literally just heard that bang there, Tareq. When I spoke to the World Food Programme just a few days ago, they said that they are getting some trucks in, nowhere near enough. I believe they'd said something like 1,200 over 6 weeks. Are there any other aid organisations allowed to operate in Gaza at all at the moment?
Well, mainly there are multiple humanitarian organizations and relief agencies are still operating on the ground, including UNRWA, the WFP, and multiple NGOs. But their work has been marked by significant Israeli restrictions as the number of aid trucks allowed for these organizations, including the WFP, remains very restricted and limited and cannot even meet the demand of people for at least one day in a specific area in Gaza. So it means that what Gaza is literally in a very desperate need for is a very unconditional flow of aid supplies to all aid organizations on the ground to work in the same manner that we have seen previously in the ceasefire agreement that was brokered between Hamas and Israel back to the past 3 months, and it has been very devastating to see that even the aid trucks have been looted by desperate families who have been driven by desperation, and many of them have run out of options. That's why we continue to see chaotic scene unfolding near these aid trucks. The WFP, UNRWA have been calling families to allow for them to deliver aid supplies safely, but at the same time, the amount of aid sent to Gaza falls extremely short to meet the massive needs of Gaza, as what has been sent is considered to be a drop in the ocean of the needs, and people are still saying that the ceasefire is the optimal solution to ensure a relative mitigation for the worst embedded crisis that Palestinians have been witnessing over the course of the past 19 months. Stasia.
Tareq Azzoum there for us in Deir el-Balah in central Gaza. Thank you, Tareq.
Make sure to subscribe to our channel to get the latest news from Al Jazeera.